Welcome to another episode of the Market Makers in Middle East and Africa podcast. I am your host Abrar Hussain. Today I speak to Bashar Kilani, Managing Director and founder of AI360 Innovation. Bashar, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Bashar, you have a very interesting career and, with someone that I can relate a long time in an MNCs, more than 30 years of experience covering Middle East and Africa. Tell us a bit about your story.
Oh, thank you. So I've been in the industry for a little bit more than 30 years now. I started with IBM, which I consider a school, really a company of a very strong culture. So that's a big part of my career. I've been with IBM for almost 25 years. And then, of course, I had the opportunity also to work with Accenture, another very large organization, more than 700,000 people, and very much focused on innovation and forward-looking aspects. And their transformation around AI has been amazing. They've kind of turned the company around artificial intelligence in a very short time. And I'm now still in the AI business, but very much advising around the digital economy and the role of the chief AI officer in enabling organizations to actually get economic value out of AI.
Perfect. Bashar, I'm very fascinated by the name AI360 Innovation. So what's behind the name?
Actually, it should be very simple for people to understand. I think getting value out of AI is about a holistic approach. It's not just technology. And in my view, a lot of it is leadership, culture, responsible approach for artificial intelligence. So talent and technology is a very important mix and balance that we all have to focus on when we do the transformation. So I think we try to approach the topic of AI in a holistic manner from 360 degrees.
Perfect. That's a very good answer and the name. Bashar, you're very much engaged with the government entities here in UAE or businesses. How are you helping them, and how is the government transforming using AI, and how is the focus?
I think governments around the world are realizing that they need to transform themselves to become a player in the digital economy. Today, almost everything we do is done in a digital fashion, and governments realize that they also have to either follow or lead the private sector in this transformation. There's a lot of focus on the role of government in building and enabling the digital economy. And when I talk about the digital economy, I don't just mean technology. Of course, technology is important. Any company or country or business needs to have a digital core or a digital infrastructure. And I'm talking here cloud, bandwidth, cybersecurity, digital IDs, and things like that. And that needs to work every time. But equally important are regulations, policies, governance, and the whole legal framework that comes with that. The UAE, for example, has reviewed most of its laws since COVID. So we're not just talking about cloud or data laws and cyber laws. We're talking about employment laws, we're talking about company laws, bankruptcy laws, e-commerce. So that's equally important. Third is definitely focus on human capital and talent. For you to thrive in the digital economy, you need to have the right skills, the right mindset, and the right culture. And there are new jobs and new roles that are coming up, like the role of the chief AI officer and the whole transformation around it. And finally, that flourishing ecosystem of startups and scale-ups and businesses. Ultimately, you want not only to have people with jobs, you want to have companies with IP that will actually create economic value and maybe export it as well. So this journey of transformation for the digital economy is what we're focusing on, and we do a lot of work in that space.
Perfect. Bashar, you mentioned about Chief AI Officer, and I have seen that the UAE government is doing a lot in that, appointing AI officer across most of the organization. Tell us more about the program what do you mean when you say chief AI officer? What he does, how is different than the CIO? And then I'll ask the second part of the question is how you are helping the government in this initiative.
Of course. So reality is, according to Gartner, 35% of large organizations will have a chief AI officer by 2025, this year. And I think businesses and governments have realized that probably they're not getting the promised economic value out of AI, the efficiency that they are getting. So there are many POCs, many proof of technologies going on, but nothing really showing in the core business model or something that they can stand up and talk about. And organizations started to realize it's not only about technology. A lot of it is about culture. A lot of it is about leadership. A lot of it is about having the right strategy and operating model and doing it in a responsible way. And that's how the role of the chief AI officer came into the scene. And people are really trying to create accountability around that. So the role of the chief AI officer is not a glorified CIO or CTO. It's very much a transformation leader, somebody who understands the business inside out and can make change happen, can lead transformation, can impact the whole C-suite and transform the way they think and act and make them ready for the AI economy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Bashar, on this, tell us about this. I mean, this is what you explained is a very good view on the chief AI officer, what that chief AI officer would do in a company, what UAE government has done on that, and tell us about this initiative of appointing chief AI officers.
I think the government in the UAE has been very focused on getting economic value and transforming the government. And there are different models at the federal level, at the local level, and different emirates have different approaches to that one. But we all have seen and read in the news that in Dubai, for example, there have been 22 chief AI officers appointed in most of the government entities. And a similar approach has been taken at the federal level. And the objective is really to have an organization that's more efficient and effective. You know, AI promises effectiveness and efficiency.
Yeah.
If you can do things more efficient, quicker, faster, cheaper, if you can have new services, if you can have new offerings, if you can transform the way the processes are done internally, but also the citizen or customer or client experience, that's really where we want to go. And the role of the chief AI officer here is an accelerator to make that change happen quicker and faster.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen some of the significant impacts? Let's say, maybe it's a bit early to ask this, but where do you see a major impact of AI when it comes to government services to citizens, or maybe banking services? Where do you see it's happening or where it will have a major impact?
Look, we're seeing AI everywhere around us today. One of the most obvious use cases is you're getting in and out of the airport with your facial recognition capabilities. There are more and more of these AI capabilities that you see around the UAE, like the UAE Pass, again, has a lot of AI features into it. It's a very powerful app. And we see more and more of these applications around us. But I think the biggest transformation that I would anticipate is in the space of software development and software transformation. Today, a software developer is probably 50% more efficient than what they were 18 months ago, and they will be 50% more efficient 18 months from now. That will have a huge impact on the software business and also every business as I know it, because people will now look at should we buy software or build software? And how quickly can we do this? And what's the kind of transformation? I think recently a major software vendor said that they will do 30% more on their software development with the same amount of developers, but now using AI and agents to help and support that.
Mm-hmm. Bashar, we spoke about some of the benefits and how it will transform. As someone who's like helping drive this agenda with the government, how do you see the biggest challenges in AI adoption?
I think it's, first of all, not technology. This is a culture and leadership question. Like any transformation, we've all lived through different transformation experiences, whether we lived across a merger or an acquisition, or getting into a new market, or understanding new regulations. This is first and foremost a transformation exercise. We need to think in a different way. Let me give you examples. AI will very quickly transform the role of the whole C-suite, not just a chief AI officer. Let me give you the example of the chief finance officer. Today, in the AI economy, the chief finance officer needs to be able to look at the balance sheet and understand what it means to manage the data, train the algorithm, pay for the cloud licenses, user licenses, tokenization, a lot of these new concepts that they need to understand. And if the chief finance officer does not understand the basics of AI, you could end up with an AI model that costs you maybe $1 or $2 per transaction, while you could actually do the same thing with 2 cents a transaction. So the role of the chief finance officer will transform in a big way. And the same thing is true for the chief risk officer, because they now have to understand everything to do with responsible AI, bias, explainability. And you don't want to end up in a situation where a machine makes a decision on behalf of the company that gets the company into problems. If I look at the chief HR officer, we are looking at a new and younger and re-energized workforce. Less focus on the experience and expertise in their domain, with more focus on the technical acumen and understanding of AI. Sales and marketing, 70% of the content of sales and marketing will be generated and delivered by AI in the next year or so, from only 2% today. Fundamental change in everything we do and talk about when we do sales and marketing. A lot of personalization, a lot of focus on anticipating what the client wants, and focus on requirements, and so on. You can take this to everybody in the C-suite.
Mm-hmm. Bashar, we spoke about UAE and Dubai, where it's a lot of forward thinking, and there are a lot of government initiatives, a lot of companies innovating, and people like you who are advising and helping government. So I can say that, look, it's a lot of future thinking here, right? How do you see across the region with your experience, as you have spent a significant time in, let's say, Africa or KSA? How do you see this technology or AI transforming the whole region, and what do you see? How do you see those markets?
I think we are, number one, lucky to be in the UAE and in the GCC, where today there's a huge focus on the digital economy and transformation around AI. It's probably done because there's no option but to diversify the economy beyond oil and gas. And we've seen in Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 with huge drive for transformation. I'm always very happy to see how quickly the Saudi Arabia ranking on government services moved tens of positions to 4th in the world in the last year. And that comes from a lot of focused efforts around making sure the data is there, making sure the right structure and process are there, but above all, human capital, making sure they've got the skills, the talent, and then of course the leadership that gets that done. Same here in the UAE, but also if you look at countries like Jordan, which is doing a huge transformation around digital economy and building and driving transformation in that space. Qatar, the Bahrain, Kuwait, we all are looking at ambitious young countries that have understood the value of technology and built an infrastructure for the digital economy.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned about digital economy and the AI. Bashar, I also, heard from you that you are also involved with a lot of other initiative. Future Foundation, the name is also very, very good. What is the role of Future Foundation and these kind of initiative? What are the role that they are playing in UAE economy and driving that agenda forward?
Um, I think the Future Foundation or Future Foresight in general is important for any nation to look into the future and start to imagine how things will develop. I'm always very amazed when I talk about the Museum of the
Yeah.
Future. What a name! What a name, and a great story to give a different mindset and perspective. Yeah, I think this region here has been living in the past for too long. It's probably now time to look into the future and see how we can actually shape it and imagine it. And I must say, a number of years back, I was part of an initiative called Dubai 10X, which is focusing on kind of giving a foresight of what every government entity in Dubai would or should look like 10 years from that in the future. And that was an amazing exercise. Even if you do it at an individual level and you imagine what would you be doing 10 years from now and where you want to be, and then kind of go backwards and see what are the things that you need to achieve to get there. If you do that exercise at the level of an organization or a business, that gives you a lot of insight and also sets the stage for how you do the planning for the future. And actually, we planned a lot of initiatives. And COVID is a very bad thing and it disrupted the world. But in reality, it pulled forward a lot of these visions and initiatives by a significant number of years. So I think as we're about to get into this AI economy, it's even more important to start to imagine the future, have a strategic foresight, look at what the world is going to be like in the next years, and where can you build skills, where can you position your organization yourself in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And some of the most exciting, AI initiatives or the technology initiative that you are working on, Bashar, you mentioned about Chief AI Officer. What else is happening and, where you are involved and making a big impact?
Look, AI is such a fascinating thing, and we just don't realize today how quickly it will change our lives. Let's understand that today ChatGPT has an IQ of 140, which is more than the average human IQ already. In 2 years, it's not going to be 145. It's probably going to be 10 times. So intelligence is going to be cheap. And that's going to transform our economy in a way that it has never been transformed before. Just think of some examples. Today, if you want to write an article or summarize a book, you do that in seconds. And it costs you, 20 cents a month. If you want to take a taxi to the airport, you probably pay 100 dirhams. Yeah. So this dynamic of intelligence becoming available to everybody at scale will change the world around us. And I think if you look at what skills do we need in that era, in my view, there are 3 types of skills that you need. First is leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I talk about people who are able to get a group of people to work together to achieve economic results. And that requires direction, alignment, and commitment. Communication skills, empathy, all that stuff. The second important skill is creativity. Real creativity, because we will have new models of everything we've seen and worked with, and putting these models together to create economic value and differentiation requires a lot of creativity. And third one is technical acumen. You need to understand what is an app and how to use an AI bot and how to build one and how to get these things to work together and so on. So what excites me and fascinates me is the experience that the human race, or let me call it the world, will go through. Technology is there, and technology will always be there. It's not really the big differentiator.
Yeah. And Bashar, coming, now I think we discussed AI, but I want to discuss your role at Boyden as well, where, you're a founder and a managing partner as well. What you're doing with Boyden,
Yeah.
and how you are helping, the businesses or the government in that space.
I'm a managing partner at Boyden, and Boyden is a leadership consulting and executive search company. And I think that fits very nicely with what we're doing all the time around the role of the chief AI officer. Because many organizations today, first of all, get our services in consultancy around leadership. We assess leaders, we provide coaching, development, because this transformation in the AI age is not easy for the leaders as individuals, but also for leaders as a group.
Yeah.
And organizations also need to anticipate the culture that they want, the forward-looking, the growth-oriented culture in the AI world,
Yeah.
and the culture that they have today. And of course, a big part of this is executive search. They would like us to help them find the right chief AI officer, or the right CEO, or the right COO, or the right CFO. So we do a lot of work at the C level in order to help organizations embrace the AI wave and be successful.
Mm-hmm. Bashar, my last question, which is, you have had a great career, and now you are involved in a lot of initiatives, to give back to the society, which is helping the government, advising on some of the large AI initiatives, and teaching at an institute as well. Tell us, more what are you doing, and, the key takeaways.
I think under the umbrella of my company, I'm doing a lot of things I like. So number one is advising on the digital economy and on transformation, especially talking to leaders, boards, C-level executives on what it takes to be successful in the age of AI. And then we do a lot of executive search. We do a lot of transformational engagements with many companies. And that's also a people business. And I like to talk to people, and I like to help individuals and organizations in that space. I also, as you mentioned, spent some time teaching. I teach at the MBA level and master's level, again, on topics around leadership. And today, leadership in the AI age is a very hot topic. People want to know more. People want to prepare themselves. And I'm lucky to be on an advisory board for many of the universities, but also teaching at some of these universities. And finally, I spend a considerable part of my time at an organization called TIE, which is the Global Entrepreneur Network. It's probably the largest entrepreneur network. It started in San Francisco. It's got a lot of chapters around the world. The Dubai chapter is hosted by Dubai Internet City, and we do a lot of work with startups and entrepreneurs. We do mentorship programs. We do focus on women in entrepreneurships. We focus on universities. We do a lot on leadership and transformation. So that's an opportunity also to network and build more capabilities and maybe in some places also give back to these kind of communities.
Perfect. Bashar, thank you very much. It was a really pleasure to have you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.